Boko Haram is confirming the death of its leader, Abubakar Shekau. It puts to rest rumors that he died in May. The confirmation came in a video announcement sent to news agency Agence France Presse by the presumed new leader Bakura Modu, known as Sahaba. He's a prominent Boko Haram commander known to be based on the Lake Chad. Sahaba accuses the Islamic State West Africa province of killing Shekau and has called for revenge against the group. Shekau reportedly blew himself up during conflict with ISWAP in the Sambisa forest in northeastern Nigeria.
President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered the military to continue attacks on terrorists and criminals. He was making a visit to troops in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. Buhari says security agencies should not give breathing space to the insurgents to challenge or undermine the country's national interests. He praised the troops for their resilience, but says there's a lot more to be done to restore peace in the northeast.
Nigeria's military says criminal activities have reduced because of their operations across the country. And this was revealed in the bi-monthly report on the armed forces of Nigeria and other security agencies in the theaters of operation. Well, for more, let's bring in retired Air Commodore Abayomi Balogun. Thank you so much for joining us on NEWSNIGHT tonight. Let's begin with that visit, by the president to Borno. How important, really, is this visit to the troops at this time, and also bearing in mind that the terrorists chose to strike 900 kilometers away in Kebbi State? What are your thoughts?
Thank you very much. For me, as a retired military officer, and I'm sure to a lot of guys who are still serving, I think the visit, and particularly the speech of the president, is the most inspiring and encouraging speech to the members of the armed forces ever. Because during the speech, he emphatically said, we owe them a debt of gratitude. Yes, that's coming from the president. But then, do Nigerians realize that they owe the soldiers a lot of gratitude? No. But for him to have said that, that means he's conveying the minds of Nigerians. And throughout the stay, the way he spoke to the members of the armed forces, to me, that's the way to go, to raise the morale of the troops, to encourage them and tell them the government is solidly behind them. So I think it was a worthwhile visit, and it will surely motivate the soldiers to do more for Nigeria.
Let me stay on the president's visit. I'm quoting him now. While I commend you, let me tell you that there is still a lot of work to be done in the northeast, west, an entire country. This is the quote from the president. Does this give you a sense that the president is really hell-bent on rooting out insurgency?
Definitely. Every president would like to be in peace. He wants his citizens to be in peace. And I think he has been trying his utmost best to ensure that we have peaceful coexistence among Nigerians. But we want to advise that we go beyond lip service. We've been on this for how many years now? I think this time around, this time around, we should really sit down, look at the challenges ahead of us, and collectively resolve on how to go about it. It shouldn't be. Yes, the president said he knows that they are now synergizing, they are working in cooperation, but I feel we could do better. We could still do more in the areas of jointness, because we should sit down, rather than seeing ourselves as Air Force, Army, Navy. We should sit down as a team and then look at the requirements to prosecute this war, and jointly, through jointness, not lip service jointness, and we'll get this done.
And that's exactly what I'd like to ask you as to what do you think is missing in the war against terrorism and insurgency? What do you think needs to be done? Now that the president says there's a lot more to be done.
There's a lot more to be done. But until we realize that the military truly lack a lot of things. They lack manpower, they lack equipment. But technology can make up for that manpower deficiency. However, we must holistically look at it and say, what do we require We've been buying equipment, yes, but they have always been in piecemeal. What do we do today when we have crisis all over Nigeria? The piecemeal approach will no longer work. We must sit down and know the enemy and know ourselves. When we know ourselves, we know what we require to defeat the enemy. It is then that we sit down and say, this is what all of us collectively require to do this. So now we heard that the government has approved 800 billion for the armed forces to purchase arms and gadgets. I wouldn't like to see the Air Force going to buy his own and the Army going to buy his own, or Navy. I want to see the armed forces sitting down and say, for interoperability, for synergy, we must acquire the same thing. So we must come under one umbrella and purchase those things required. If we go that way, Boko Haram shouldn't be.
But it's
now
one
you
thing.
just mentioned Boko Haram. Let's talk about that. Now that even Shekau's camp has confirmed his death, how does this affect the dynamics of this fight against insurgency on three fronts: the Nigerian front, the Boko Haram front, and the ISWAP front?
It's so complicated, but a lot of people are seeing it as the death of Shekau is the end of Boko Haram. No. You don't know who is taking over for him. Shekau took over from Mohammed Yusuf. Mohammed Yusuf was not as violent as Shekau. Now we don't know who is going to take over from Shekau. We can't tell the temperament of such person that will take over for him. And ISWAP, on the other hand, we had ISWAP as overrun Boko Haram. What are they coming with? They have a tactic that is different from Boko Haram. Boko Haram attack everybody. ISWAP attack the military bases. So they try to win the heart and might of the populace and take them along with them. So the approach now should be different from what we've been doing. And I don't think we should falsely see the end of Shekau as the end of Boko Haram.
So how can the Nigerian authorities begin to ensure, because I heard Sheikh Gumi actually say that Nigeria needs to begin to look seriously at infiltrating the ranks of not just Boko Haram, but ISWAP. Is that a strategy that will work? And then on the issue of Nigeria, you know, budgeting some 800 billion for military hardware and all of that. It's one thing paying for the equipment. It's another thing having to wait for years, sometimes 2 years, 4 years and all of that. How does that affect this war if we're not self-reliant, at least to a large extent, on the issue of equipment?
Yes, normally when you order for equipment, brand new, it takes time. I would want to say that on TV, but the military has a way of meeting their immediate needs. So we know the urgency of what we are facing, so they go through the other ways and get what we require to do the job right away. Now, if you are looking at Boko Haram and ISWAP and the challenges everywhere, first thing I said was, know thyself. Know your enemy, know thyself. We need to sit down and look at the two people, even the bandits, the kidnappers. We must look at them. What do they want? What are their modus operandi? That is when you can now talk about yourself. Are you prepared to face them? What are their capabilities? If you know them, then you equip yourself enough and then you will conquer. But if you don't know yourself or you don't know them, you'll be there forever. I
think I'll just follow up on that because you were raising that issue a while ago and I wanted to follow up on that. The fact that there's talk that ISWAP had a running battle with late Shekau based on tactics. That was the reason he was killed. Now we have a replacement for Shekau in the person of Bakura Modu, aka Sahaba. What should the military be doing now in terms of, I was going to ask you, what do we know of Bakura Modu? But apparently, I don't know. Yes, I should have that and ask you, what should the military be doing now to get a hang on this particular man, Bakura Modu?
Especially now that Boko Haram is calling for revenge against ISWAP. Yes.
It could be both ways. It could be advantageous to us. It could be disadvantage. But then, what we need to know about whoever is taking over from Shekau is to study him first. know his temperament, know where he's coming for, and study what are his likely course of actions. Then you can checkmate him. I can't tell you categorically here on TV that I can predict what that guy will do, but there are people out there in the military, intelligent people, who will sit down and profile the guy, know his antecedents, and can predict his next line of action. That is what we will need to do to be able to tackle him. And even the ISWAP, that is seeming to have an upper hand over Boko Haram.
Do we have that capability?
Of course we do, except we don't exploit it. Every army has, and we have psychologists, we have mind readers, we have different kind of specialists that could do such things, but we need to harness them, bring out their capability into a cohesive means, and then we use it against them.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much. We'll have to wrap it here.
All right.
Abayomi Balogun, retired Air Commodore, thank you so much. Always nice to have you on Newsnight.